So since Stranger Things has now have the ability to create movie-length episodes and hype you up in ways that, essentially a show has really never hyped us up before in life, I've decided to hype you guys up for this review in a way that I only know how. Duh. Stranger Things. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and this is my review for Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2. Now, essentially this is going to be the same as my other series reviews. If you've seen them before, thank you so much for watching them. If not, welcome into my very first one, or your very first one. So essentially the way this goes is, look, I'm just going to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and just my overall thoughts of the entire season itself. Now, essentially, Volume 2 only came out with 2 episodes. They were a combined 3 hours and 55 minutes or so, but there's only 2 episodes to talk about, so I'm hoping this isn't too long, but I'm just going to have fun and talk about a show that I have completely just adored for so long, because they have honestly pulled out the stakes, every single stake for this show. Like Netflix, you can literally tell that Netflix cares so much about this show. Like, they really put their all into this show, so much so that they really just don't really give much of their other movies nor TV shows, The Umbrella Academy with the bad special effects, they don't really give them all those other shows and movies and series all the attention they need. But Stranger Things here, you can just tell that Netflix really wants this to be the most successful show in Netflix history. You can tell that the phenomenon that this show has really grown over the 6 years of it being on, Netflix, they just really haven't had a show with this much emotion before, essentially. Like, they haven't had a show with this much build-up, and now we're at the point where we're in Season 4, and they're able to make movie-length episodes. Like, honestly, I don't know, like, when it was first announced that, this show was going to be, or this season was going to be doing movie-length episodes, and essentially the last episode was going to be like a 2-hour and 30-minute movie, longer than almost, like, I want to say that's longer than at least, 40% of the MCU movies. Like, that kind of scared me, because it's like, you don't necessarily want a show to, bigger doesn't always essentially mean better, but in this sense, bigger definitely means better. Like, in Stranger Things sense, because like I said, you can literally tell that Netflix gives their all to this show as far as the special effects goes, the writing, like I said, the special effects, they go all out for this show. I mean, the show looks incredibly, wicked, it looks beautiful, it's chaotic, it just looks, it's just a whole, the Upside Down has just become a whole world where Netflix is really giving their all to, and they really want to make that world as creepy, dark, wickedly fascinating as possible, and they really do that, and it shows in this, particularly in these last 2 episodes, because we are essentially past all the intro stuff. Like, we already know Vecna's number 1. We already know we already know essentially what's going on with Elle, why she needs to be in the building. Like, we're already caught up with everything, and we're even caught up with Hopper and them at the Russian base with the Demogorgons and stuff. So at this point, the only thing to do now in the show is, Vecna's plan is introduced to us. He basically needed to kill 4 people in order to open 4 gates and break the barrier, so that the barrier between the Upside Down and the actual world is just, boom, it's just combined into one. And honestly, that's all we really needed to know for this. Like, these 2 episodes go straight into it. Like, we don't really, beat around the buzz. We don't have any more build up to go. We're just here. We're just doing it. And I loved everything about these 2 episodes. I'm just speechless, honestly. Like, they made sure they wrapped everything up so well. And honestly, I'm glad we actually got a break between, finding out that Vecna was 1 and the last 2 episodes here, because that gives us time to kind of just sit on everything. I promise you, I gotta be real, if everything in this season was presented to us at once, we wouldn't have appreciated it as much as we do now. The fact that they split it up like this, and the fact that they let those first 7 episodes sit with you and resonate with you about where we're really going to this story, and the fact that it all comes to a fantastic closure in this, second volume, it's just, absolutely amazing the way they pulled this off. Like I said, bigger is not always better, but the Duffer Brothers, look, the Duffer Brothers essentially carry duffel bags with them because they only know how to create fantastic writing, fantastic shows, fantastic special effects, fantastic character development. I'm going crazy over this show. Look, I told you guys in my Umbrella Academy review, I could not say that Umbrella Academy was the best thing that I saw on TV because I knew this was coming out and I knew I'd be sitting here right now possibly saying this is the best thing I've seen on TV since whatever show I was probably going to use as an example. Let me explain something to you. This is the best show in Netflix's history. This is one of the best shows in streaming. This is one of the best shows on television, period. Stranger Things is that. Stranger Things has been that, and Stranger Things always needs to be that. Simple as that. Now, look, I think it goes without saying that this entire cast is phenomenal. But if I essentially had to pick out, a few people that stood out in this particular part of the season 4, it would be Millie Bobby Brown as 11. Because, look, the first volume, she did great. I always thought, Millie Bobby Brown as this character was very good. I never thought she essentially, stood out or, she, gave, any, performances that stood out one over the other. Until Volume 2 came out. I think this is the best performance she gives as 11 in the entire series. I think we honestly, wrapping up the story with her papa, in episode 8, and the fact that we get, closure through that storyline, and, she actually gets, the character 11 herself gets closure with her papa character, and, him dying, and her actually finding out, he's the monster and all that stuff like that. Granted, they're both monsters in their own way, but essentially she just had a lot of ties to that character, and I felt like emotionally for 11, this was a way for her to grow and just move on from that part of her life. Like, the second half of this series really, or this season, really, focused on emotional aspects of each character. Like, Max, Lucas, Dustin, we just got emotional overload. Oh my gosh, there were so many times, of course there was, and it goes without saying, essentially, this is a spoiler-filled review. I'm saying this way too late into the video itself, but yes, this is a spoiler-filled review. I didn't really say anything spoiler-filled in the first part, but I'm going to get into some spoilers now. Essentially, there's a part where, in every show, they have this slow-motion part where you don't know who's going to live, who's going to die, and at that point in time in this show, when Vecna was talking to 11, we were focused on Hopper, Eddie, Max, and I was tearing up. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought they were going to die. Essentially, Eddie did die, and Max is in a very confusing situation for me. I don't know what the status of her life or death situation is, just because, essentially, if you know the answer to this question, when the Coke bottle was spinning around and Elle couldn't see Max in, the darkness, in that dark area, does that mean she's dead? Somebody help me out in the comments there. I was just very confused by that part. But other than that, look, when it comes time for these kids to essentially, like I said, each cast member is absolutely phenomenal. But there was one point in, each season, each episode, where a character is called upon to essentially have their moment. Each of these kids do that phenomenally. In this volume 2, essentially the kids that played their moment very well, I thought Dustin with Eddie's dad, that was just very heartbreaking to watch, period. Dustin has always been one of the most beloved characters in this show. He's just a bright spot, and just watching him and Eddie battle it out one last time, and, Dustin really limping his way to Eddie's slow and maniacal death, it was very sad to see, it sucked. And Max and Lucas, that whole scene was just gut-wrenching to see. They really, Stranger Things really tried to pull on your heartstrings this time. I didn't think Hopper was going to die. There was no way. Look, I knew if somebody's going to survive, there's no way Hopper is not going to see Elle before anything happens to either of those two characters. They need to come together before any of those two can die. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. But as far as Max and Eddie goes, the tension was great. I honestly was about to be disappointed for a second because after they all got saved the first time, or essentially, after Max and Hopper got saved, Eddie died either way. After they got saved, I thought, the whole body count thing was going to be a lie, but Stranger Things held its own. Stranger Things did hold up their end of the deal because essentially, I'm just not the biggest theory guy, and it's okay for the cast. Well, not the cast. It's okay for fans to essentially. I mean, the cast can do this too. They can, put their theories out of who's going to die and entertain things like that. But essentially when the studio itself or, the show creators themselves put out tweets saying, yeah, there's a body count, that kind of puts expectations on you that, yeah, I need a body count or I'm going to be very upset with you. But Stranger Things delivered in everything they said they would. And honestly, they just made this one of the most enjoyable experiences ever, like in TV history. This is Stranger Things season 5 is easily probably going to be one of the biggest events in television history. Probably one of the most watched shows in streaming history. Like, Stranger Things only gets bigger and it's only getting better, guys. Like, I am absolutely astounded by everything I saw this season. I will say this though, and this was going to be essentially a complaint at first until, I finished the rest of the episode and I actually got to where, I know where the second or season 5 is going to go. I thought for a second, like, I'm very glad we didn't do away with the Vecna character. I thought for a second, like, Vecna was just going to be the villain here in season 4. Towards the end of the episodes, towards the end of episode 9, I'm thinking to myself, if Vecna's dead, who's going to essentially be, the villain in this thing? Because Vecna is the one that found the Mind Flayer and he attached himself to it so he could become one with it. So he's the main, like, he's the whole reason all of this has happened. Like, that's essentially where we get to in this story. We find out that Vecna's been there since day one, since Will's disappearance in episode 1 of season 1. We find out that essentially, Vecna's been the reason for everything that's happening. Every time, like, he's with a Mind Flayer, somebody's taking over somebody's body, saying they're building something for El. Like, they've done everything to make sure that they can get El and Vecna can just get his revenge. And I'm really glad they're bringing him back. I really thought, essentially at first, I really thought they were just going to kill him off. And I was like, that would have been a real waste of a character. Another thing I was going to be pretty upset about is we spent ample time with him in the first 7 episodes. In the second, volume 2, once his plan is revealed to us in like the first 30 seconds of episode 8, he's not really in it much other than, the execution of the plan to stop him and everything like that. So he's not really in it much after that. So I was honestly very glad to hear that we are bringing him back because I think that he has potential to be one of the best villains, not in this series, but essentially in TV history, or he can rank up there with some of them. I think, I'm actually really glad, they didn't just do away with the character and just introduce us to a whole new villain in the next one. No, I'm glad that we are actually going to finish with Vecna. Like, Vecna started this thing, we're going to finish with Vecna. I'm very excited to see that. Like, I don't have any complaints about this show, really. Like, I am absolutely astounded. Like, everything I thought I was going to complain about, they had it solved. They had it worked out. I just needed to finish the episode. I hate that sometimes when I'm watching an episode and I'm thinking, man, something's missing. Something's not there yet. And then it finally pops up and their show creators just sitting there like, dude, just wait. I got you. I need you to understand. We understand what you want to see in this show. I got you. The Duffer Brothers understand what all fans of this show want to see. And they absolutely just knocked it out of the park. Like I said, they're duffel bags. The Duffer Brothers have duffel bags, and they got. I was trying to be clever. It didn't work. I was trying to be clever with a bag reference. Next clip. So overall, guys, look, Stranger Things season 4, volume 2 lived up to the hype. It lived up to everything it promised us it was going to be. The entire season itself is absolutely phenomenal. I'm actually very curious to see, essentially my reaction to it now that I get to watch the entire season as a whole. I definitely got to go back and do that just so I can make sure, I essentially get everything I missed. Because off the first, I was just so, absolutely absorbed by everything that was going on. It's really easy to miss some small details. So I definitely got to go back and watch this season as a whole. But from episode 1 to episode 9, guys, it's pure fun. It's chaos. It's hilarious. It's emotional. It's action-packed. It's everything and so much more. Like, these Duffer Brothers, man, they are something else. They absolutely are fantastic show creators. They know exactly what their fans want. They're not overdoing anything. Like, that's the one thing I can definitely credit this show about over, like, the last, 6 years. Although, people have complained about, the time jumps and, these kids are getting older and how long are they going to be in high school or how long are they going to be in middle school. For this show to truly, have all those obstacles to overcome, every time a season comes out, they prove all of those doubts, all of those concerns. They prove all of that wrong. And honestly, my biggest concern for this season was just that essentially all these long episodes was just going to be absolutely too much. It was just going to be very overwhelming. It was just going to be very, just piling a bunch of stuff over top of each other to make this one of the biggest TV show extravaganzas we've ever seen in our lives, and they delivered on that. Like, I don't think people understand how hard that is to truly deliver on something with expectations so astronomically high that even if you felt even if you did that be impressive itself. They did this. They exceeded my expectations for this season. I mean, the Duffer Brothers got their duffel bags and they did their duffel damn thing, because they just absolutely created one of the best seasons of a show I've seen in a very long time. Well, like I said, last video I said I've seen the Umbrella Academy was the best season of a show I've seen since when? Invincible season 1. It's really all going to tie back to that, because the show hasn't really, grabbed me by the neck like that since Invincible season 1, but everything about this season, this volume 2 itself, is absolutely incredible. It's emotional. It's amazing. And before this video ends, I do just have to say R.I.P. to Mr. Eddie Munson, a character who is now joining Bob and Alexei in essentially the Hall of Fame, of where you will be remembered forever. You are gone, sir, but you are truly not forgotten. Eddie was just a legendary character, gave us one of the best guitar metal solos and history since Van Halen, probably. I don't listen to metal, so I that's the best comparison I got. But he was a great character, a great addition to the show, did exactly what Bob and Alexei did, just came, left their marks on this show, and then left without any warning whatsoever. I mean, a lot of people guessed that Eddie was going to die anyway. More so, Bob and Alexei died without any warning, but it was still very heartbreaking to see. Eddie Munson, you are appreciated for everything, and I really appreciate you for taking Dustin under your wing, and he will carry your legacy on. So guys, that is my review for Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2. Essentially, guys, look, where we left off in the show with, the mind flare and everything going on, or essentially, the upside down barrier is now broken, everything's coming into the world. What do you think is going to happen in Season 5? What is your thoughts? What is your theories, guys? I'm so excited for this. I cannot wait for Season 5 to come out. I hope it comes out sooner rather than later, but knowing these series creators, they may take a long time, and they may just come out with straight 2-hour episodes next season. We never know, but I'm excited for it. As far as I'm concerned, they got me excited. Now, do I think the trend of movie length episodes should just be normalized here on out? No, I don't think everybody should do that. This is not something that every show can do. Stranger Things has separated themselves and proved to you that they are them. Essentially, I'm trying to say they are them because it's like, athletes now said they're him. But so Stranger Things is them, and other shows are themselves. And please, everybody, don't try to do that. That's not going to work for everybody. You're really just going to make a lot of people upset, and you're probably going to kill off pretty good shows by doing that with movie-length episodes. Now, some people can do that. Everybody can't. What shows do you think can do that? Let me know in the comments below. But other than that, guys, look, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Look, this is your guy in the chair. Thank you so much for watching. More content coming to you soon.